Good morning, student. This is lecture number 5, and we are starting today third line of defense. In the last lecture, we have already seen the characteristics of a third line of a defense, and just to give you a link with the previous lectures, in the last 4 lectures, we have already covered innate defense mechanism, which are non-defense mechanism of our body, which covers the first line of a defense, the second line of a defense, that is physical barriers, the cellular mediators and humoral mediators under second line of a defense. And in the previous lectures, we have covered inflammation and fever under second line of a defense. So in today's lecture, we are going to start a very important part of an immune system, that is third line of a defense. That is, if a microorganism invades our body and our first and second line of a defense fails, then we have an extremely important defense system, that is adaptive immune system, which is a specific immune system, that is third line of a defense. So we are going to today concentrate on third line of a defense. So in the last lecture, we have already started that if the microorganism enters in our body, and if our second and first line of a defense fails, then our third line of a defense comes into the action, which is called as adaptive immunity, which is very specific to the particular pathogen. We have also seen in the last lecture the characteristic of adaptive immunity, that this adaptive immunity is very specific, it is diverse, it has a memory, and it can discriminate between self and non-self. We had just touched upon lymphatic organs, that it can be divided into primary lymphatic organs and secondary lymphatic organ. We call bone marrow and thymus as a primary lymphatic organ because the stem cells divide and become immunocompetent in these primary lymphatic organ. The bone marrow specifically, in the bone marrow, B cells and T cells develop into the bone marrow, out of which B cell mature in a bone marrow, whereas T cell migrate from a bone marrow to thymus, and the T cell mature into the thymus. So bone marrow and thymus are a primary lymphatic organs, where a B cell and T cells, which are a part of adaptive immunity system, becomes an immunocompetent, that is, they are capable of mounting an immune response. And the secondary lymphatic organs are called as the organs where the immune response actually occur. So in the last lecture, I had advised you to revise your lymphatic system. So I suppose you have gone through the lymphatic system. You have revised your lymphatic system. So these are the parts of the lymphatic system, like tonsils, thymus, lymphatic vessels, spleen, Peyer's patches, lymph nodes, bone marrow. These are the different parts of a lymphatic system which by various functions contribute to the immune system. So as and when their reference comes in, I will mention those lymphatic organs, the way I have mentioned just now, the bone marrow and the thymus. So let us move on. So let us start to the main part of today's lecture, that is third line of defense, adaptive immune system. So I will not focus on innate immune system. We are focusing on adaptive immune system. You all know that even an adaptive immune system is divided into cellular immunity and humoral immunity. By now, you are very clear that what do you mean by cellular immunity? Where cells are involved. And humoral immunity means where proteins or soluble proteins are involved. So under the adaptive immunity, the cellular part or the cells which are involved majorly are T cells. You know, these T cells under the lymphatic system, they mature in the thymus. Whereas under the humoral immune system, the major, sorry, we will talk about the cellular immunity first and then we'll move on to the humoral immunity. Under the cellular immunity, the mature T cells can be categorized under helper T cell and cytotoxic T cells. Now, there are other categories of these under the cellular immunity. Mature T cells can be divided into the helper T cells and cytotoxic T cells. Here I am not going into the details of the subsets of T cells. We will be looking into these subsets in more details into the coming slides. Right now I am only focusing on to the major part on this slide. So now this cellular immunity, which consists of T cells basically and their subsets, which are helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, and so on. These cellular immunity takes care, or these T cells basically takes care of intracellular pathogen, which includes viruses, bacteria, fungi, which also includes cancer cells and foreign tissue transplants. Also, this is cell-mediated immunity, which involves always cell-attacking cells. Whereas, when we talk about humoral immunity, this is mediated by antibodies. And since these antibodies are produced by B cells, we are categorizing B cells under humoral immunity. So basically, what we call an antibody mediated immunity, it works mainly against extracellular pathogens. So I remind you again, the cellular immunity, that is T cells, it is targeting intracellular pathogen, whereas humoral immunity, that is antibodies, it is targeting an extracellular pathogen. Why? Because these pathogens or these antigens are in the body fluids, or they are present in the body humor. Humor in the Latin is called as fluid. These pathogens are present in the body fluid. So your cellular immunity is targeting intracellular pathogen, that is your T cell is targeting intracellular pathogen, and B cells are majorly targeting extracellular pathogen. So extracellular pathogen can be viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasite, whatever, but they are present right now into the body fluids. They are not inside the cell. So this is basic functional difference in cellular immunity and humoral immunity. And cellular immunity consists of T cells, humoral immunity consists of antibodies which are secreted by B cells. So this is a basic idea about adaptive immunity consists of cellular immunity and humoral immunity. Now let us start looking at the details of these adaptive immunity. Now, every time when we are going to talk about adaptive immunity, we will be talking about antigen. Now, what is this antigen? Let us be very clear about this concept before we move on to the discussion of adaptive immunity. You might be already aware about antigen, but let us revise and then move ahead. So antigen is any substance that is recognized by our body as a foreign. Now, when body recognize that substance as a foreign, your body will initiate an immune response against that substance. So antigen, first thing, it will be recognized as a foreign and your body will mount an immune response against that substance. Secondly, The antigen can be self and it can be non-self. Foreign antigen can be heteroantigen, and it what is a heteroantigen? It is not a part of a human body like microbial agent, microbe. It can be a part of a microbe or it can be an entire microbe. So it can be a flagella, it can be a capsule, it can be a cellular part of that microbe, anything that can be a foreign antigen. So if you see over here, the term used is microbial agent. So antigen need not be an entire microbe. It can be a part of the microbe. Then the antigen can be a non-microbial agent like pollen, egg white, serum protein, transplanted tissue, etc. Then the antigen can be a self-antigens. It is also called as autoantigen. For example, you might have learned that autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid and arthritis, where your body's own tissues are behaving like an antigen for the body. Your body is recognizing your own tissue as an antigen and mounting an immune response against it. So I hope everybody is clear. What do you mean by antigen? It is any substance which is recognized by a body as an antigen and your body is mounting an immune response against it. It can be a self and it can be a non-self.